Hello, how's it going? In today's video, I wanted to take a look at the current state of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, or MWZ, or MWZ, however you want to say it. What we know is coming at the beginning of Season 1, because we've actually been told a few things on the Call of Duty blog, and what I'm kind of hoping will come in Season 1 and the near future, what I think this mode needs to get even better. Let's start with where the game's at right now. It's been a little over a week and a half since launch, and I think it's fair to say it's been a hit. There was lots of trepidation, lots of nervousness about the game before it came out, based on the people that got to play it at Treyarch, and kind of what everyone was hearing about the game in general, you know, and the campaign and everything, and that included me. I was a little bit anxious about it. I kind of expected it to be a bit rushed, maybe a bit like Vanguard Zombies mode, but it's so much more than that. It's so much better. I think lots of people maybe in day one were unsure about it. I saw lots of people saying they didn't like it, but pretty much straight from the beginning, I was having a blast with this. I thought it's really, really good. I really enjoyed working my way through all of the different acts, all of the different story missions. I thought that was great. I enjoyed hunting for those different schematics and getting them. But now we're at a kind of strange point where we're not going to be getting another update for, I guess, another couple of weeks. We're not going to be getting Season 1 until early December. And a lot of us who were really, really into this mode, a lot of us who play Call of Duty every day, have kind of worked our way through the story missions. We've got all of the schematics. We're well on our way to getting the zombies camo. So now it's kind of, okay, what's next? What's the next thing we're going to be doing in this game? And to make it clear, this isn't normal. Like, we're not the normal ones. We've been kind of rushing through. I'm sure lots of you who are watching this video have been plowing through this, getting really excited about it and playing it for hours on end. I'm sure the vast majority of people, like normal people playing Call of Duty, are probably still on Act 1. They probably still have tons of missions ahead of them. There's tons to explore and experiment with in this mode. They're not going to be running out of content anytime soon. When I've been playing games with randoms and I check their missions, nearly every single random I check is on one of those early sort of tier 1, tier 2 missions, especially the couple of hard ones that are in Act 1, like the one where you've got to take out a convoy and get the card and it doesn't always work and it's kind of tricky to find a convoy, or that one where you have to use cryo freeze on dogs, and if you're trying to do that in tier 1, you often just kill the dogs outright, so you kind of need to do it in tier 3. Those sorts of things, people who are playing this normally probably won't have worked out yet. They probably won't have found the answers to yet. So they'll still be there. And that's great for them. They've got tons of content. There's no rush for more. So I don't want people to take this video as me saying, like, we need more content now or anything like that. I think the game launched with a decent amount of content. It's pretty good. It's pretty similar to how DMZ launched in the first time, where, yes, there's things that could be changed, there's things that could be tightened up a little bit. Some of the missions are a little bit boring, some of the missions don't quite work right. But I imagine over time, lots of those missions will be swapped out, and that kind of initial player experience will get a little bit smoother and a little bit better over time. There's also been a few less great things about Modern Warfare Zombies in these first couple of weeks. The big one for me is the crashes, and there's kinds of 3 different types of crashes that I've experienced. There's the crashes that I still seem to be getting, where at some point in the background, my connection to the Battle.net servers gets disconnected, and I think this happens on Steam, and I've had it happen on Xbox too, where if there's any kind of disconnection at all with those kind of host servers for the service that you're running the game on, then it just kicks you out of the game and forces you to restart it. Now, I'm guessing this is somehow, you know, some sort of anti-cheat type thing to stop people like pulling the network cable when they die or something like that to try and get away with their loot. I'm not really sure what the thinking is behind it, but it's super annoying and it causes crashes and you lose everything, and as far as I can tell, there's no real way to stop it. For me, it only seems to happen when I'm streaming, so I don't know if it's something to do with that, you know, using the upload bandwidth of my connection, or that causing some little stutters or something. I've got no real idea why it's happening, but if I don't want it to happen, I just have to not stream, which is a little bit of a problem for me. The second type of crashes are the actual game crashes, and this happens, again, I've seen it happening on Xbox and on PC, where it actually crashes the game properly, you get an error code and everything like that. That seems to be much reduced. Like, my friends who had that happen quite a lot, they don't seem to be having it happen anywhere near as much as they did before. I've only had this actually happen once, and I think that kind of happens with almost any new software, any new games. There's a chance for some kind of crashes. Then the third type of crash, and the one that's probably got the most news, is the server crashes. When the entire server goes down, normally in-game you see everything freeze. Often I can sort of still run around for a little while, but all of the zombies and all of the other players have completely frozen. You can't change weapon or anything, and then eventually the server kicks you out. Luckily when that happens, you don't lose anything you went into the game with, but you do lose anything that you got in that game, which is really frustrating. And it seems like that was being caused by something to do with the exfils. Whether it was people spamming loads of turrets using that duplication bug to get lots of turrets and that causing it, or whether it was just people constantly triggering the exfils over and over again and causing those giant hordes of zombies. That seems to be entirely fixed now, and the way the developers did that is by massively reducing the number of zombies at exfil. Like, there's really, like, I think there's about 50-60 spawn now, whereas before it felt like 150 would have spawned. And you can only call in exfil every 2 minutes now, so it's kind of reduced the incidence of it, and it kind of dissuaded people from using the exfils to farm XP, so people are doing a lot less, and the servers seem to be crashing a lot less. Which is good in a way, but it's a shame because those giant hordes are kind of awesome, and we will talk about those a little bit more later. But that's kind of the state the game's in. People who are playing this like super hardcore going for it have finished it. Normal players probably still have a ton of content to do. There are some bugs, there are some crashes, but they seem to be getting on top of them, even if the fixes aren't all perfect. So what are we getting at the beginning of Season 1? So they've announced a few things on the COD blog that we're definitely getting at the beginning of Season 1, and to be honest, because of the way they announced this and the way they wrote it, I kind of think this is everything. I don't think we're going to be getting much more outside of things like bug fixes and stuff like that. I'm sure we'll get some of that. But I think these are the only kind of new features that we're definitely going to be getting for Season 1. So, first of all, we're going to be getting some new missions. Now, they didn't explicitly say that, but that's what it sounds like in the blog. And they talk about us investigating a giant gateway that appeared in the exclusion zone somewhere. So this is alluded to at the end of the Act 3 story mission cutscene, that there's something else going on in the exclusion zone and you can kind of see some sort of storm in the background. So it seems like there's some giant gateway that's appeared, and that's what we're going to be investigating. And I would assume that the story mission would be us going through that gateway and into the Dark Ether. Now that'll be pretty cool, and it feels like that's kind of the theme of this season, because they also talked about Dark Ether rifts. And this was something that in Black Ops Cold War you could do in D Machine, where you would actually go into the Dark Ether through one of these rifts, and kind of, you had to go find items and stuff like that. There was a few little things you could do there. It seems like from the blog post, maybe this is a new contract, but it's described as an end game experience to master once players complete the seasonal mission. So I'm guessing these rifts won't be accessible, or this gateway or whatever it is, won't be accessible until you complete the seasonal story mission. Then you can go into the Dark Ether, and there's going to be a limited timer where you have to complete a bunch of objectives and try and get out alive. I'm guessing this is where any kind of new loot will be. Maybe this will be where the best loot is. Maybe they'll start putting like ray gun schematics and, ether crystal schematics and things like that in there. I'm not sure, maybe we'll get some new higher level items like crystals that pack-a-punch you up to level 3. It is interesting that there's already a glitch in Modern Warfare Zombies, where sometimes with the pack-a-punch, it will look like you've pack-a-punched your gun up to level 4. I've had that happen a couple of times. I think it's to do with doing the thing where you kind of melee the machine to keep your camo when you pack-a-punch. Sometimes it seems to skip a number for whatever reason. I do wonder if that's hinting at us getting eventually up to like higher pack-a-punch levels, so then we'll get more crystals, and that might be a reason to go into these rifts. I don't know. We're also getting a new wonder weapon that's been confirmed, the VR11 wonder weapon. Apparently it's going to turn enemies friendly. It's kind of interesting that we've had like the Wonder Waff, which obviously uses an electric attack, a bit like Deadwire. We've had the Scorcher, which is kind of like Napalm Blast, it burns enemies when you use it. And now this seems to have the brain rot effect of turning enemies onto your side, and it's going to work on everything, mercenaries, special monsters, as well as normal zombies. So it does make me wonder, are we going to get like the ice version of a wonder weapon? Are we going to get a Shatterblast one? I mean, I suppose the ray gun's a bit like the Shatterblast thing already. But yeah, it seems like they're kind of theming them in a similar way to the different ammo types, which is kind of interesting. Also, they said we're getting a new category of unique acquisition schematics that will test the player's skill to unlock. No real idea what this is, because we can already craft kind of all of the different items that you can take into a game. Maybe it'll be something like you'll be able to craft like tier 3 armor or big backpacks, something like that. Maybe it'll be something like you can craft vehicles, or craft something that lets you summon a vehicle, like different types of flares or something. Maybe kill streaks, turret circuits, I've got no idea. Or maybe it's something completely new, something we haven't seen at all yet. That would be kind of interesting if they have some new kind of item that we haven't got. Or, you know, maybe it'll just be gas masks or something boring like that. So that's everything that we know is coming in Season 1. We know all of that stuff is coming in the beginning of December. When Season 1 launches, we're going to get all of that. So what else am I hoping for? What else am I wanting to see in the game? First of all, and this is quite a minor thing, but to me it's something I've wanted ever since the beginning of DMZ and we've never quite had, and that's proper weekly missions. I kind of don't want them to release entire acts all in one go at the beginning of a season, because people with very poor self-discipline like me will burn through all of that content in the first weekend, maybe the first day if it's just one act, and then we'll have nothing to do for 2 months. And that kind of sucks. I really like the way Fortnite does its seasons, where it sprinkles out story missions and challenges and things like that every week. So like every week, I think they have 2 different updates depending on what type of update it is every week. You kind of log onto the game and see what's new, and then you can do that at the same time as everyone else. So everyone gets the new update every week. It gives people something to talk about, gives you something to make content about. All your friends can come online to do it. And if you miss a week, it doesn't matter, because later on you can still go back and do all that stuff. But just for those people who really like doing stuff as soon as it comes out, it means you don't have these massive gaps in content. So I'm not saying there needs to be more content than there's already going to be. I'm just saying I'd kind of like it if they spaced it out a bit. If we got, you know, maybe a tier from this act, maybe 1 tier each week. So the first week we'll just get tier 1 and next week we get tier 2 and so on. I think that would be really cool. I'd really enjoy something like that. And maybe, you know, tied to that, then they could add some of the other new features rather than dumping them all in at the beginning of the season. Just kind of sprinkle them through. So say if there's a mission that involves a new type of vehicle, wait to add that new vehicle until that week's mission comes out. And then, you know, there's just more stuff to do every single week rather than just having tons of stuff kind of overwhelming you at the beginning and then nothing for a while. Another thing that I'd quite like them to add is more opportunities for hordes. Now, I really enjoyed the exfil hordes. I thought they were really good. But if it was that was crashing the servers, and I know there's weird conspiracy theories going around that, no, it was just the turrets crashing the servers and the hordes weren't really a problem, and somehow some YouTubers know this, but the developers who make the game don't. I've even heard today in my chat someone was trying to make out that secretly they don't want us having fun doing the exfil, they want us to do the contracts instead, so that's why they were in them. All of that's very clearly nonsense. But anyway, the hordes were fun. It's a shame they had to go to preserve server stability. I really hope they find a way to fix it and make exfil exciting again. I think they could do it. If they can't bring the hordes back, if that is too much of a problem and there's no way around it, at least make it so some specialist zombies spawn in those kind of exfil things. You know, if you're only going to be attacked by 20, 30 zombies at a time, at least have like 5 of them be mimics or disciples or something like that. That would at least make for a more engaging fight at the end. But I'd really like it if some other contracts came up or some other world events came up where hordes were a thing. Maybe something where within a match, 3 times within a match, there's a random event where a horde spawns and it gets marked on a map and everyone can go there and go fight that horde if they want to. And you know, there's hundreds of respawning zombies. That would be really, really cool. Think about like if any of you have played Days Gone, that PlayStation game, where there would be like a massive wandering horde in certain parts of the map and you could like go there and fight it with a plan to try and take it down. That was really, really cool. I'd love to have something like that in this. Another thing I'd like to see, and I'm pretty sure we will get, to be honest, is quality of life changes. Generally, Treyarch are pretty good about this, just kind of updating things based on player feedback, making some things a little bit easier, making things a bit smoother. The big one for me right now, as I work through the Borealis weapon camo, is I'd love to be able to see my camo progress in-game. It's really annoying that I have to use third-party websites to do it. It's very frustrating that I can't check whether something's working in-game. It'd be really nice if, like the daily challenges, you could just press start and see the current challenges for the gun that you're using and the level that it's at, and maybe even have something where you can pin a challenge onto your screen so you can see the progress kind of in real time. You can see it tick down as you get the kills. That would be absolutely awesome. There's obviously other things that maybe would be quite nice for quality of life. Like, it'd be nice if the vehicles had a little bit more durability. You know, an armored vehicle or an LTV should be able to maybe run over a few more zombies, so vehicles would be a tiny bit more useful. And all of the kind of bug fixes and stuff that you'd expect, you know, get rid of some of those weird floating blocks on the map, get rid of some of the zombies that get stuck in the middle of the air and the mercenaries that are just sitting there pretending that they're in a vehicle but are floating in the air. It'd be really nice if all of that stuff got fixed too. Kind of in a similar vein, it'd also be really nice if we had reconnect options. I'm not expecting them to completely fix all of the crashes and all of the server disconnects and stuff, but in Warzone 2, towards the end of the kind of Modern Warfare 2 year, they did add an option where if you managed to get back into the game fairly quickly, within a few minutes, then you could actually reconnect to the game and pick up. You know, your player character still would have been in the game, so could have been killed, but if your teammates had kept them alive or something, you could reconnect to the game. I'd absolutely love it if that was an option in this. Since it's not PvP, I can't see a way that people would really be abusing it. It would just be really nice that if you got disconnected, rather than losing all your stuff, you could just load up the game again, connect back in, and then pick up where you left off. That would be absolutely amazing. Another thing I'd like to see is some kind of increased threat at the end of matches. Right now, when the match kind of gets towards its finale, I think the climax is meant to be the gas going over the entire map, expanding. But the gas isn't very scary. It doesn't do very much damage. It doesn't travel very quick. It's not really a problem. Your only problem is making sure you can get to an exfil in time. And so far, I've never had any situations where I thought, oh no, I might not make it. It's always been super, super easy. It would be nice if that kind of ending was a bit more climactic, a bit more threatening. I've heard loads of people suggesting that the tier 3 area should just expand at the end. So, you know, you end up with tier 3 zombies all over the map, you end up with mega abominations, you end up with specialist zombies all over, the lighting would get really scary. That would be quite cool, because if you're not prepared for tier 3, and I don't think anyone's ever properly prepared for tier 3, then it would actually get quite scary, and that would be something to fear, like seeing that roll across the map. Or even, if they want to make it super cool, have something like a tier 4, like a version of it that you couldn't ever survive in for very long, and have that start expanding from nothing, maybe this new gateway, and then have that start expanding across the map. So it's like, oh, I really have to stay ahead of this, because the zombies in this tier 4 area are going to be absolutely terrifying. And when it gets to final exfil, you're going to have to be fighting off some of those zombies for a couple of minutes, and that's going to be really, really hard. I think that would be really, really cool. I just want there to be a bit more of like a story to each game, and a big part of that is having the games building up to something. And the final thing that I think is kind of realistic that I would like to see, maybe at some point in Season 1, or, you know, in the near future, is some kind of upgrade missions, like we had in DMZ. I thought that was a great addition to DMZ, where you could get things like, hey, now you can take more armor into a match, or you can hold more armor, or the exfil comes quicker, or something like that. It would be really cool if you could get some of those upgrade missions, so you do certain things across your career in the zombies mode, and then maybe perks are a little bit cheaper, or kill streaks are a little bit cheaper, or sometimes you can go in with a 2-plate or something like that. I just think that would be really awesome. It would be a cool extra thing to work towards. Finally, I'd like to talk about things that I don't think are coming anytime soon, but maybe we'll get sometime in the future. First of all, the thing I've talked about loads in this is PvP. I do think with zombies right now, I'm running out of things to do a little bit, and I think that'll always be the case. I'm always going to be able to burn through the content quicker than the developers can reasonably make it. Therefore, you kind of want something that's unpredictable, something that's a bit different. In DMZ, that was PvP. Now, I understand that there's loads of people that like just kind of chilling with zombies. They like the fact it's a bit of an easier mode, a bit more relaxed. So they don't want PvP. They don't want that threat of losing their stuff just because a really good team turns up and kills them. So it would be really nice if there was just some kind of opt-in mechanic for PvP. Maybe some kind of contract, like a most wanted contract, where if you pick it up, other people can fight you. But if no one manages to kill you in that time, then you manage to get some extra stuff, get some extra gear without really doing anything other than surviving. Or maybe with these new rifts, they could have something where, like, if you go into a rift, any other teams in the Dark Ether are fair game and you're going to be able to fight them and stuff like that. Stuff like that I would personally really, really enjoy. but I don't think we're going to be getting PvP anytime soon. So people who hate the idea, I don't think you have to worry. We don't even drop loot on death at the moment in the game, and I think that would be kind of a big prerequisite for having any PvP, because you want to be able to loot the people that you kill. And so it seems like, you know, when you have something quite fundamental to the game that doesn't work in that way right now, I think it's a long time before they'll change anything like that. I kind of don't think we're ever going to get PvP in this, to be honest. The other thing that I would really like, and I think will happen actually, just maybe no time soon, is more maps. This has been really cool, exploring Urzikstan, going around it. There's still plenty of places that I haven't seen. There's loads of times I'll get into a building and think, oh, I've never really seen this before. But obviously once Warzone comes out, we'll get even more familiar with this map over time. It'd be nice to have some new locations. Now, I think we know that when the new version of Warzone comes out, we're going to still have Ashika Island and we're still going to have Vondel in it. So it'd be cool if they added those to this. I'm not sure how much work it is to kind of add all of the different spawns for contracts and pack-a-punch machines and perk machines and stuff like that to those maps. But it would be awesome to kind of do something like this in Vondel, for example. I think that'd be really cool. But also the DMZ maps, like Building 21, I've always said would be amazing for zombies. I kind of thought it was a given that we'd end up fighting zombies in Building 21, because it just seems so perfect for it. Especially with the idea, you know, maybe you start in the car park at the bottom and slowly work your way up. It just seems amazing for it. But anyway, we haven't had it so far. Hopefully that'll come. And Koshai Complex, you know, you going in with different teams and maybe having to help each other to get out of the first areas rather than, you know, competing to get out of them first and fight each other. You could work together with other players to go through there and then get into the other section and fight bosses and stuff. I think that would be really cool too. And there's some good potential for Easter eggs. And talking of Easter eggs, I haven't really talked about them in this video, but they did say before launch that there were going to be sort of main Easter eggs in this, and they weren't going to be coming at launch, but they'd come later. I wonder if we're going to get any in Season 1. I feel like the Vault Easter egg is actually a bit more like a proper Easter egg. There's just no proper reward for it. You know, you get to fight a special mimic, and that's it. I wonder if we're going to get something more substantial, like a proper Easter egg for Season 1. I think if we do, they'll probably tease it a little bit. You know, there'll be some section of the blog that talks about things being redacted or something like that. It would be really cool if we did, especially if you got some sort of cosmetic like an operator skin or something for completing it. Or, you know, a special weapon blueprint or something. That would be absolutely fine. But I'd just really like there to be some kind of tangible reward for completing an Easter egg, a special Easter egg. And hopefully it'll be, you know, super long, lots of steps, very difficult, you know, take you an entire kind of hour-long game to complete it with the 45 minutes, then the 15 minutes of the zone coming in. That would be absolutely incredible. So fingers crossed for that. Right, thank you very much for listening all the way to the end of this video. Please in the comments below let me know what you'd like to see for Modern Warfare Zombies in the near future. I'd really like to hear your ideas about kind of what things you're expecting us to get, what you think the things they talked about in a blog post mean, and just what you'd like to see in the game. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye!